Hello, y'all. Welcome to the sixth episode of the Anti-Filter podcast. I am one of your hosts, Alison.
And I'm your co-host, Shannon.
And today we are going to be discussing, is selling pics of your ass to buy chicken modern feminism? That's kind of the podcast episode for today. But before we get into it, Shannon and I are going to be doing something every week called the weekly check-in, where we kind of like bring up some funny shit. If you're watching this on YouTube, Shannon's dog is literally just like trying to speak. It's his turn. It's his podcast.
He wants to so bad.
So talk to me about what happened this week, because you texted me some funny ass shit about work. I'm telling you, working in the fitness industry as someone who's a PT like you and a coach, like, you get some weird shit happen.
It's actually insane. Like working, I think like immediately after I like told you the situation, I was like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. Cause I'm usually not the type to judge, but by far this has been because I've been working since I was 16. So like in those years, like 10 years of work, this is by far the craziest thing I've ever heard. So I think it was like either Tuesday or Wednesday. I go to work and this is one of my like busy days. I'm like booked back to back to back. So like I really don't have time to chit chat. I don't have time to catch up with anybody. Like I'm already in there in the zone. So I noticed that our like front desk, like one of our guys that works the front desk, he's a little bit older and he's actually one of my clients. He's like full panic. And I'm like, Jerry, what is going on? And he was like, I don't know. Dreama said someone's here that isn't supposed to be here. Like, I got to go like try and get her out. So in the 5 minutes that I'm here, apparently, so basically I get note that she worked out at one of our other locations in between the two states. And she was banned for a situation, we could call it, across all of our locations in 2 states. And I was like, we've had some like nasty members before. We've had some situations before. Never have we ever like banned across all locations. So whatever homegirl they did was bad. I go to my first like 2 sessions and my general manager pulls me over and she of course is telling me that I can't tell anybody. And I'm like, well, facts. Depending on the situation, I will say, like if it involved any of my coworkers or like legalities and things like that, I of course would not be able to talk about it. But essentially, long story short, this woman at another location was caught by other members in the sauna butt ass naked, which I feel like some people will do the sauna naked, but usually like there's a towel involved, just no like bare ass cheeks to the wood. And not only was she in there just completely naked, she was using some of our vibrational technology, if you will, to do some things for other things that the massage gun is not intended for. And immediately in my mind, I'm just like, your poor cooter cat. I'm sorry, but like, have you ever used one of those massage guns?
Yes.
Ow. Like you about to vibrate girly right on off your body, like full on genitalia mutilation.
Because even at level 1, it's so strong. Like for your pussy, because that's what I when I got one immediately, that was my thought. I was like, should we use this to masturbate with? And then I put it on level 1 and I was like, oh no, my clit would be fucking obliterated, bitch.
That's what I'm saying. Like literally like whole mess down there. Like no, like roast beef sandwich done. It's gone. It does not look the same. And like the whole time in these 2 sessions, she's apparently in like the group fitness class, like just like in the mirror looking at herself and like admiring herself. And I was like, look, no judgment, right? Like I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna yuck your yum, if you will. But with the same token, sanitation.
Sanitation.
The things that I see people putting those massage guns on, no.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, that's fucking disgusting.
Like people put it on their feet.
No, but you know what? It's funny. I was telling you this when you told me about this. There's an author that I've read a few of his books. I don't usually read fiction, although I've been reading fiction so much in the past couple weeks. And his name is Chuck Palahniuk. I think I'm butchering the last name. I should have looked it up before this. But he's written a book called Choke. And basically the premise of the book is it's this guy who's a sex addict and he works in like this place where it's forever like 1732. His mom thinks that he's like the second coming of Christ. And basically he's like trying to afford her treatment home. and he's a sex addict, and basically like he talks about Sexaholics Anonymous and how there are like all these crazy people that like you hear about in real life, but like you don't like think that they exist. Like it's like a myth thing about like the girl who jumped off her fridge onto a broom or like all this shit. And apparently like people do that. Like in real life, like people will masturbate in public places so that they get walked in on because it's like a kink.
Okay.
Like some people have weird kinks.
I could see that. Like, I really could see that, right? Because, like, I mean, even if you just look at the porn industry, there's all kinds of like, oh, I was doing this and like so and so saw me. And so I totally get that. I think too, it's just, and again, like, not trying to yuck anybody's yum. It's just, I was taken aback. I was shocked.
Yeah, I mean, to be banned from every single gym, like, you have to do something pretty bad, and that's pretty fucking bad. How did you end up getting her out?
That's the thing. So I guess she started realizing that we were putting two and two together. And so anytime our front desk guy would like try to come into the class or get a hold of her to kick her out, she'd run into the ladies' locker room and into the sauna, ironically.
Not back from where she first came.
No, literally. So I guess she just ended up leaving. I think because like I want to say something that would make the situation make more sense, but it's a little. I just feel like the place that I work, things kind of tend to get like swept under the rug sometimes, if you will. Like it's like okay, obviously we have an issue and something needs to like happen, but like everyone just kind of sits there like the bystander effect, waiting for someone to actually step up. If that makes sense.
No, it does. And it's funny, like the fitness industry is so wild. And, you know, you were my client for several months. I think almost like what, 6 months, something like that.
Yeah,
And
around
it's
there.
funny because I, you know, have weekly check-in notes and my check-ins are on Wednesdays. And one of the funny or check-in notes that I'm like, because I make notes because I'm so forgetful. So like I make, you know, obviously things to like check off if they've hit their goals this week, to make new goals for them for the following week. But I also like to like keep track of things in their personal life because all of my clients are neurodivergent, mentally ill, and like I want to know where they're at and like remember so that I can like help them better. And one of the notes, I think I sent it to you from this week, is so funny. I was After we got into it, I like reread my client back the notes because I was just howling from laughter. The note says, Robbie smoked meth on the road while on tour with midgets. And I was like, you know what? That's so fucking real because if you were touring with normal sized people, you'd be doing cocaine. But of course, if you were touring with midgets, you'd be doing meth. It just seems like the logical drug to
Yeah, I
do
think that definitely
with
checks out.
midgets. I remember also you had one of the funniest check-in notes. I forget what it was, but it was about your nipple. I forget. Do you remember?
I cannot remember word for word. Me and my nipple together, we have been through it. And there's a lot of things that I said about homegirly from time to time. I will say we are on the up and up. I haven't had an issue with her in months now, which is really exciting because at one point, y'all, I genuinely thought she was gonna fall off. Like just I was gonna wake up one day with her detached from my body. Terrifying experience.
The note was March 6, 2024. Almost losing my whole nipple really put things into perspective.
Yeah, that would make sense. That would make sense.
The fact
Yeah,
that we both had breast cancer scares.
that is actually insane to me. Because I was like, who does this happen to? And I remember like some of my clients being like, it happens more often than you think. And then like I was sharing, I think that might have been like the moment that like you told me that you also had a breast cancer scare. And ow, sorry, my son is being such a handful. Um, but yeah, no, I've really never met anybody who's like, yeah, also same. Like they kind of misdiagnosed me with breast cancer, and I thought I was gonna die. So terrifying.
Yeah, it's not a fun time. And like the thing is too is I also like it was different because I ended up actually having to get a fucking lumpectomy, but I fucking digress. Like I was feeling my fucking tit the other day and I was like, are these lumps? I don't know. Do I feel it on the other side? I don't know. I can never tell, but I'm supposed to get imaging done in the fall. So hopefully it's okay. But I feel like now would be a good time to get into our topic. The topic for this week is feminism selling photos of your ass to buy chicken and hit protein. So the thing is like, as someone who's like neurodivergent, disabled, mentally ill, bitch, like it's really hard for me to keep a job. And I know that like it's hard for any of us to just have a fucking job. And I remember like, I don't know, a while ago, um, I had like definitely sold photos in the past that were like more racy, but I've never really like sent anybody like actual nudes. I've always been like covering myself, like covering my nipples or whatever. But I remember one time a few years ago, this guy wanted a photo of my asshole, so I went on like Google Images, like page 10 level shit, and found a photo of an asshole and sent it to him. But I've never really like shown anyone the innards of my vagina. I don't know, for some reason, it's just not cute to me. Like I don't want that. I don't want people seeing that. You know, I started Passes, right? And there's no nudity allowed on the platform. So it kind of got me thinking, like, what's really selling your body? Is it working minimum wage in a restaurant as a server and like being fucking like berated and getting hit on and shit? Is it working in construction for like 8 hours a day, breaking your fucking body just for like minimum wage? Or is it capitalizing on the thing that men constantly demonize us for doing and like objectifying us for, which is like our bodies, right? Because that's just how I kind of think about it. And I didn't always have this mindset towards, I don't know if I think I would classify it as sex work, I guess. But I remember like younger me, I didn't really understand what feminism was, and I wouldn't have considered myself a feminist when I was young. And I remember um my ex's little sister like sent nudes of herself, and I was like, you shouldn't degrade yourself like that. That's disgusting. Like I've evolved so much in the past 10 to 15 years, as you know, we always do as humans, but I had like a very different, I guess, view of sex work than I do now by comparison to even, like I would say like 8 to 10 years ago. Like it's very, very different.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say too. Like, I was someone who never really had the whole like concept of like sex is bad or sex work is bad or women shouldn't have like sex essentially, because with the lifestyle that my mother upheld, I was exposed to a lot of things from a very, very, very young age. So, like, a lot of my aunts were prostitutes growing up. Like, a lot of my family friends or like my aunts and uncles, like, a lot of them were prostitutes. They were on like Backpage and all kinds of shit. So, I think in my mind, it's always been put to me like sex work is a thing because there's a demand for it, right? The supply only exists because of the demand. And a lot of the times, men, specifically me, I mean, I know a lot of women get upset over sex work and stuff as well, but I really feel like that's just kind of like internalized patriarchy or insecurities. Because let me tell you, not everyone can do sex work. Like, that shit is not easy.
No, it's so hard.
And the reality of it is kind of like I said, like my family, specifically my mom and like obviously my aunts and my uncles and everyone kind of in that like realm, pose it as like, one, they had no other option. A lot of them were using serious drugs, had no job, lost their kids, are homeless, need more drugs. So that was all that they had value. Like that was the only thing that they had value for. But then I think too, like, again, like I've done the same thing that you have, like where I haven't like spread it all wide and snapped a good old pic with the flash on, but I have had like cheeky little moments and like I have bullied men. Bullied men is not the right term, but men have sent me money for it. Typically I feel like certain kinds of men that are into that kind of thing, which there's nothing wrong with, usually there's some form of like humiliation is not the right term, but like shame. Yeah,
Degradation.
yes, like there's a little bit of like this concept of like this is the closest you'll kind of ever get. Boop, this photo, if that makes sense. At least in the terms of when I've sent photos and such. Most of the time, like sending photos of that nature, I don't do with like someone I'm interested in or anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It's funny because I think in the first episode I had mentioned that someone was like into that like degradation kink shame thing. And for me, like it was really hard for me to take emotion out of it, to be like, you're fucking disgusting, you're gross, like, but that was what this person wanted. But it's so, I don't know, like, it's hard. And you were talking also about how like the gym girl to like OF pipeline is so real, but
It is so real.
it's, the thing is, you know, content creation is really hard. And I remember when I first decided to do it, it's almost like a year, it's a year ago almost. Like, yeah, it's been a year. I remember saying to myself, like, before that, I never wanted to do content creation because I knew how hard it was. Because a lot of people don't understand the business aspect of it, which is, you know, personal branding. And that means forming community. It means cultivating really long-term, mutually beneficial relationships with people. And it just, it's a lot of unpaid work, right? Which is why I got to the point where I started doing passes, which is a subscription based service. It doesn't allow nudity, but I do post like spicier photos on it. And it's hard, right? Because especially the type of training that I do, it's hypertrophy training because it's for aesthetic purposes. Mostly, like, I do mostly hypertrophy training, some strength. I am a baby bodybuilder building my body. So like, I want it to look nice, and it will look nice, and it does to a degree to some people, I guess. And I felt like it was time to capitalize off of it because I'm fucking poor as shit. Like, I tell me why I'm working like 50 to 70-hour weeks and I can't even fucking pay my rent. It's just hard. And for me, as someone who is neurodivergent, like, I have a really hard time holding down jobs. I get really fucking burnt out. I have just a really hard time. And since learning I was autistic, you know, trying to unmask and learning to unmask has meant that I've had a lot of, I forget what the word is. It's like going back to how things, it's shit. I forget what the term is. Fuck me in the
Regress.
asshole. Do you know?
Like regress, like
Yes, it's skill regression when it comes to unmasking. And I don't know, I've found it hard, which is why I started it. It's not the type of content that I want to make. It's not anything that I'm passionate about, but I know that, you know, sometimes you have to do shit that you don't want to do to get to where you want to be. But it's hard because some of the people that I communicate with, I actually really like. And I need to, like, I found myself like stalking them on Instagram, and I'm like, okay, I need to actually like take a step back here because this needs to continue to be a parasocial relationship where it's like very one-sided. But that is very strange. Like, that's the one thing about being in content creation that is so fucking strange, is that it are parasocial relationships. Because I, even as someone, and I'm getting a little bit off topic, we'll go back to it, but I just wanted to say this. It's very weird for somebody who has a lot of followers that people feel very connected to me that I don't know. Like, if they saw me walking on the street, they would recognize me, but I wouldn't recognize them, in the sense that I feel very connected to a lot of creators. But it's like, I had to get to a point where I have to mute almost every single person I follow, specifically creators, because I will like all their shit. I will fucking comment on everything. I will message them 10 times a day. And I've realized, as somebody who does content creation now, that that's inappropriate. But the thing is, you know, people do this with me, and I got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm getting burnt out from talking to all these people. I might as well get paid for it. And that's where passes came in. And it's like kind of a variation of sex work.
yeah. And I think, I don't know, I think, like I said, I've always been pro sex work. I think the issues come in when you're looking at the intentions behind it, right? So like, obviously when I grew up, those prostitutes who were looking to get drugs, like, their life was a whole hot mess, and really they needed rehab and they needed help. But I think too, it's all about the intentions. I think a lot of people these days, especially women, there's men out there who have OnlyFans pages too, if y'all didn't know. Like, there a lot of people who end up on these reality TV shows and like these Netflix specials. Later they release OnlyFans pages and get like hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think in my notes I mentioned, and like I know her name's Bad Baby, but I always want to say
Bad
Bad
baby.
Bad Bahabe.
Yes, I
Honestly,
know.
but
You
like,
know what? I fucking love the shit out of her. The
same.
way in which the day she turned 18, she launched an OnlyFans, and I think she made like $1 million on the first day. That just goes to show that people like fucking children.
And like, hear me out. she's at that point, right? It's not like at that point, she's not feeding into the fetish of pedophilia, but she is what we call pedo baiting. And hear me out. I think the person that I am, like, more power to her. More power to her. The abuse and the years of therapy that she probably needs from the Dr. Phil show, more power to her. And I think a lot of people like to get upset because, again, either the internalized patriarchy or they don't like the power that's given in sex work. Like, sure, does it always feel so great? No. But with the same token, you're going to be objectified no matter what business you're in. I go into a gym every day. I cannot begin to express it. I've been followed home. I've been followed home by men at the gym that I work at. And working at a gym is not like, oh, like a restaurant where you serve your meal and like, boop, I might see you again. I might never see you again. These are people that I see on a week to week basis. I've got couples asking me to do threesomes with them. That was in one of my little like check in for the weeks. Hitting me up on Instagram while I'm in Cozumel, being like, we fucking adore you, like trying to whatnot. I mean, we have an OnlyFans couple at our gym. OnlyFans and fitness, right? Especially because right now the fitness industry is moving into like a social media, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a social media marketed job, right? A lot of people are doing OnlyFans as subsequential income. Especially too, because now social media marketing, it's fucking oversaturated as shit. Don't get me wrong. I would love to have a large platform and have my voice matter and build my business through social media. But I just know for me right now, like, it's going to take longer waiting for the platform to build up and then launch my business than it would to just launch my business and fucking go for it. And it's kind of almost like the luck of the draw too. Like, as you say, how many hours it takes depending on what you do for like work, right? If you can fully invest in content creation, great. But usually you get to this fork in the road where it's like, I've been doing it for so long and I do enjoy it, but I'm not making enough. I'm making some, but I'm not making enough. And that's where people supplement with the OnlyFans. And before I switch back over to you, I did just want to say, as an advocate for someone who believes in, like, I think sex work should, like, I think the bans on it should be kind of abolished. I think there should be resources for it. As much as y'all want to hate on OnlyFans and hate on that kind of like style of sex work, currently to date, it is the safest form of pornography that you can get your hands on. Half the Pornhub videos, half of the shit that you get on free websites, it's not what you think it is. It really isn't. And there's issues of consent. There's issues of, there's a whole bunch of issues. And OnlyFans and other paid forms of content for sex work really allow creators to put their boundaries first and agree to what they want to do while not doing what they don't want to do.
Yeah, and I love that. I think, after the first week of doing it, I got like a couple days into it and I found it very mentally taxing. I've always said, in the recent years when I've like in the past, whatever, fuck. I'm very pro sex work. I'm very pro sex work is real work. And I've always said that it's not something that I wanted to do because it's very hard. It's very mentally taxing. What I do like about passes is it enables me in that way, right, to establish boundaries. And I think that it's also great because OnlyFans, although this is not how I perceive it, has a negative connotation to it. So I think that it being a website that doesn't allow nudity enables people to subscribe to and pay for content without feeling guilt and shame, which is a big part of it, right? But it is hard because, it makes me feel like some of the people on there make me feel like my only value is my body. And that can get very mentally taxing, especially because, I've been single for 3 years now. I have not been in a relationship for 3 years. I haven't had sex in 2 years, almost till the date. I haven't kissed anybody in 2 years, and I don't feel very connected to anybody. And I had a moment this week where I was really missing someone that I did have like kind of like a talking stage with last October. And if you go back to like my old YouTube videos, I mention him and he was actually in one of them. We never met. He's from Texas and he was the only person really that I felt truly connected to in a long time. And yeah, I mean, this kind of work, like, it depends, right? It can be very empowering. I found it like leaving me feeling very empty and like unfulfilled. But again, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, right? I don't know how other people feel in this industry. That's kind of my feelings towards it. But it doesn't matter, like, whatever you do, you need to do shit that you don't want to do to get to where you want to be. One of my favorite creators is Tony Train Bloom on Instagram. He does the Fitness Stuff for Normal People podcast, and he talked about when he was starting his business, he was bartending a few nights a week because that's what he needed to do in order to get by, and he really liked it. But this is just something that enables me to do it for less hours per week. It's something that, one, like, I can control. And I don't know, it's just hard. Like, I think that there's a lot of internalized misogyny when it comes to people looking down on it, because you have a lot of people who are fitness content creators that do show their body, that are very revealing, and that look down on other creators for doing sex work, and it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, there's this one chick, I think I have her blocked because it just, the whole concept really pissed me off. It's so funny how in the creator space there's like drama and shit. I think her name is Yulia, but she basically did a post where she was like, let's talk about OnlyFans. And she basically was like talking shit about OnlyFans creators. And I was like, okay, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. It's giving internalized misogyny, but go off, Sister Queen. It took me about 2 seconds to scroll down her page, and I saw her posing naked with lifting belts surrounding her tits and her vagina. And I was like, you know what? I made like several videos about it because it really pissed me the fuck off. Because how are you supposed to sit here? You're demonizing sex work, yet you're fucking using sex to get paid for things. Like, the only difference between like her and I at the time versus content creators that were doing sex work is we're not getting paid for it. But she was getting paid for it because she was promoting lifting belts. It's just like at a different capacity. But how dare you go there, use your body for clicks and likes, and then you look down on sex workers? Just make it make sense. It really pisses me the fuck off. And I think that's where also we as women need to realize that, like, some of these women are coming from a very privileged place, right? Some people have been born into generational wealth, some don't. Some have it easier than others. And, I'm very mentally ill. I've been dealing with mental illness since I was 9. I've been autistic my whole life. And for me, keeping a job is really hard. I have asked for disability accommodations and I've gotten fired. Like, for some people, I think that some women don't understand, but for some people, sex work is the only option. And for you to judge a woman for doing what she needs to do, or a person, like anybody who's doing sex work, because they need to get by, is just like, fuck you. Because how are you going to sit there and say, well, you know what, you're selling your body? And it's like, babe, you're doing construction, working fucking 8 hours a day, breaking your fucking body, and at 40 you're gonna have like major fucking problems. Like, you're selling, capitalism is capitalism. You're selling yourself on a daily basis. Where do we draw the line of like what's okay and what's not?
I agree, honestly. I think really a lot of the times people's issue with sex work either boils down to a couple of things: insecurity, internalized misogyny, or religion. I'll give that as a factor. I'm not really an institutionalized religion kind of bitch. I'll give you that. But I do understand that there's a lot of people out there who I feel like that it's morally wrong. Although I will say, if you're Christian and you believe that it's wrong, Jesus was friends with prostitutes. That's something that my mom used to say. My mom is very Catholic. My mom is very extremely Catholic, so religious, and she'll often like back up her friends who are participating in sex work and say that Jesus was friends with prostitutes. But I think too, like any form, right? Like kind of like what you were saying, any form of sex work today, right, is taboo. You could be a stripper already, connotation bad. You could be on OnlyFans, connotation bad. You could be on Passes that doesn't allow any type of nudity, bad. Kind of like a little spill the tea moment here. I think this was like back in like 2020, around there. I had a friend who was into she started into financial domination. She wasn't like, it wasn't her kink specifically, but she got into it and she was telling me about it. And basically it's a kink where like men just pay you just because you exist, because you're a woman, because you're hot, because you're this, because you're that. And I was like, wait a minute, if this is a form of sex work, I could totally easily do this. And I created a page on Twitter and like have had that for years. Just every now and then I'll get active and just be like, now I think the cool thing with financial domination is a lot of the times you talk to people and they're like, hey, this is kind of what I'm looking for. This is the kind of thing that I like. And if you don't work, you don't work. But here's the thing is they have to pay you to DM you. It's called a tribute. So you're getting some deposit up the front. Sometimes I give I entertain the option without tributing. I cannot express to you like how much money you can make so very quickly. I had a conversation. I had gotten active like last week, posted some like pump pics and was like, it's a muscle mommy, like do what you're supposed to do. And I made $345 in an hour and 20 minutes. And don't get me wrong, I go by alias, probably because there's huge stigma with sex work. Not that I would really care at this point, anybody knowing or anything like that. I do everything that I want to do. I don't send anything I don't want to. I don't post anything I don't want to. I don't feel pressured to do so. And a lot of these men, they're obviously have like a humiliation and degradation kink, but half of them I don't know, right? So kind of going back to the whole like mindset and like sex work, I think it's really important that like if they're going to objectify your body as a whole, then you objectify them as a dollar sign.
And that's so real. And that is so real, but it's weird, right? Because you expect to get hatred from men for doing this type of thing, even though it's the thing that really like you're capitalizing most off of them. But you don't expect to get hatred from women. Like you do and you don't, right? And there was my favorite comedian, I love her. Her name's Gabby Lamb. She started an OnlyFans because guess what? Being a comic, unless you're like really well known, doesn't pay very well.
No.
And it took a lot for her to kind of make that jump into doing OnlyFans. And she went through some serious shit. Like last year or earlier this year, I can't remember, she sold her eggs because she needed money for like 10 grand. And it was, she said, the worst experience of her fucking life. And she said, I think she said that she made that in like 5 days on OnlyFans. And I was like, go off, fucking sister queen. Someone had DM'd me and said, hey, I've done sex work in the past. I really like Gabby Lamb, but like I had to unfollow her because I like girls who like make their own way, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, bitch, the fuck are you talking about? Like, or first of all, like as someone who has done sex work in the past, you get it, right? Like you get it. And you understand how expensive things are today. So like, how dare you come and say to me, this was before I started my passes, oh, like I follow you because I like you and I want to see girls who make it on their own, blah, blah, blah. Like, bitch, be so for real. It just really rubbed me the wrong way. And Gabby and I kind of chatted about it. And she was like, it really pisses me the fuck off because what the fuck am I going to do? Go back to being a server? No, like that's so much more fucking degrading than sex work. It's ridiculous. And I don't know, like the thing is it got to a point where so many people were commenting on my videos and people have told me that they jerk off to my videos. And I think like there's no shame, right? Like I think that we've all touched ourselves to other people's videos, whether it's porn or like their actual Instagram page, whatever. So like fair, if you're going to do that, like no hate to you, like slay, you know what? If you think I'm hot, like amazing. But it got to a point where I was like, fuck this. Like if you're already jerking off if you're already jerking off to my videos, like I might as well get paid for it. And I might as well be able to do the things that I feel comfortable with posting. And honestly, most of the time what I post is just posing videos. And I've stopped posting them so much on Instagram because I'm like, if you want to pay me for this stuff that I would be fine with the internet seeing, like go off. I'm not posting anything on there that if it were to get leaked, like I would be super embarrassed. Like fuck no. And that's the thing that's also cool about passes is it's got like AI, it's got anti-screenshot technology and everything is watermarked. So like and I pay for like the premium version. So if you leak my shit, they'll go after you. They'll go after you, bitch. They will.
I will say, sorry, not to interrupt you. I will say that too, like a lot of content creators when it comes to OnlyFans and things like that, a lot of them put like discretions in their like bios and things that protect them legally. I don't know how, like obviously I know like with what you're like with passes, and the fact that they're telling you that it's legally binding, it's a little bit different. But I do know that, I mean, at least in my experience, I've had one spin-off account and I found it like 2 months ago and I tried to like copy my like photos and stuff like that. And they like stopped being active in December of like 2023. So I was like, okay, obviously you didn't make much money off my face, but pop off. And now I just started watermarking my like photos with like my Twitter handle. I usually use PixArt, put like the text on there, make the opacity. Is it opacity? Is that the right word?
Opacity, yeah.
Slay. Uh,
It's
make it
opacity
like
or
real light.
transparency. Like it depends. Like Photoshop, you can use both.
Yeah, and then you just make it lighter and then you're good to go. And then that way if like they want to like screenshot it or get their hands on it, yeah, they can like send it to whoever, but it's got your watermark of like your handle.
For example, you had talked about Bad Baby before. She already had established a brand, right? And that's the thing that is hard about sex work is that amazing, like you can just go on OnlyFans, like sure you can maybe make money, but the only reason why I was able to make a little bit of money when I was on passes in the first week is because a couple of people knew who I was and subscribed to me. That's the thing is building a brand takes a lot of time. It's not something that's easy. So when people say, "Oh yeah, sex work is easy," like, okay, sure, you can go on and like masturbate or take photos or whatever the fuck you want to do, but if people don't know who the fuck you are, they're not going to want to pay for your shit. And you had said before too, like the pipeline from fitness to OF is very interesting. And one person that you had mentioned is Bristol Dempsey. I fucking love her. I fucking love
I
her
would
so
die
much.
for that woman.
No, I love her. She is, if you guys don't know, you should check her out. She is a bodybuilder. She just did her first show. She got amazing feedback. She is in the bikini division. She's going to be going to nationals. One of the judges for the show that she did, the regional show, says that she has a lot of promise. She was center stage. She won in all her fucking categories. She is amazing, and she is a mental health advocate. She's also disabled. She has Tourette's, and she, as you said, used her money to fund her fucking clothing line, and she can live comfortably because she does it. But it's interesting because she has also talked about the fact that she does not have a high sex drive. And some people who do that type of work, I don't know if it's you go into it. I'm not talking about her specifically, but I'm curious if some people go into it and they have high sex drives and then they leave. And because it's work, it just becomes too taxing to want to do. I don't know. I personally have such a high sex drive, but I haven't been able to fucking use it because, well, I mean, I do because I masturbate like a fucking demon. But like,
I so relate to that bitch. Oh my God.
no, like it's so funny because it's hard though because that's the thing, right? Is that you've mentioned to me like you need to look at these people not as people, but for me that's so hard. I have a really hard time doing that.
I will say too, like me personally, I have a very interesting take because as I'm learning in therapy, which I forgot to go the last 2 times. It's bad on me. I just been busy. I paid her anyways, pop off queen. But
Oh,
I also like have antisocial personality disorder tendencies. Which if you don't know what that means, it basically means that I like genuinely have like a tendency to be a little bit more sociopathic and look at people in a sense of benefits and rewards. So having BPD, I've got this part of me that is like, oh my God, like they're a human being. Like, and I just want to be loved. You know what I'm saying? I know you know what I mean. Like you want to love people the way that you want to be loved. Often that's not returned in BPD and you're abandoned. But with the antisocial personality disorder, I can flip like a switch. Like if you're not proving benefit to me anymore, get the fuck out of my life. And don't get me wrong, like do I lay in bed sometimes and I'm like, wow, I am a shit person. I do. I also understand that I make a conscious effort on a daily basis to make sure that people that I care about and people that are in my life and people who are like not a stranger to me on the internet paying me for my pussy know that they're loved, cared about. I would die for them. I would lay on the train tracks and just take me out.
but
But as
they
far as
wouldn't
men
do
I
that
don't
for
know on the
you.
internet,
Yeah.
you can suck my dick. I
Yeah,
like I
like
don't know you. Why do I owe you anything? I don't.
no,
And for
you don't.
me, like being in some abusive relationships, being sexually assaulted, in a way it's like me kind of reclaiming my power. And I think a lot of women like find it reclaiming their power. And even like I said, even like Bristol, like I mean, and let's put it in perspective. Girly doesn't even just have like a Shopify shop that she gets like stuff printed onto her clothes that she then resells. She literally has a manufacturer factory making clothes based off like what she's like wanting to grow and build. Do you know how much money that takes?
Oh, I do
Like
because
that is insane.
no, it's really expensive because I actually owned a clothing company years ago, and holy fuck, I do know actually how much
Yeah.
it costs. And what I will say is her clothing line, Be Her, she sent me some pieces from it, and I've never felt seamless shorts that are so buttery soft. They're so fucking nice. She got me she gave me halter bras, but I was not able to wear them because I can't do halters. It's
Yeah.
the autism. I'm very weird with certain types of clothing. But it made me feel like I was being choked. Not her fault. It's my autism. Yeah, I think so. The question, I guess, of the day really is modern feminism selling yourself to fucking be able to buy chicken? Because at the end of the day, we just want to be able to, we're just girls. We just want to be able to pay our rent. We want to be able to hit our protein. Like you and I both, like, I don't know. I mean, the training at least that I programmed for you was hypertrophy training. Like, I just want to be cute. I want to be a muscle mommy. I want to have my little muscles. I want to eat my chicken, and chicken is expensive, as is rent. The thing is like, I say that loosely. Is modern feminism selling photos of your ass to buy chicken? Because obviously feminism is about equality, right? It's a huge movement, and like, to say that, I guess, demeans the effort of women before me. So it's partially a joke, but it's partially not.
I actually have thoughts on this because
Okay.
I was going to say, I think where women stand right now, modern feminism is actually slowly transitioning into being a misandrist and like misandry. So, not so much that like we deserve equal, but it's about the fact that like y'all built this fucking power play. Now I'm going to reap the benefits of it the best way I know I can. I feel like where women stand right now is modern feminism, right? Which is the feminism just means equality. Don't listen to me. No. Again, I will repeat that.
Was that
Obviously.
Siri?
No, it was my Google Home.
Not the Google, not Miss Google.
She said, rise up.
Did she? What'd she say?
She said, I'm at your service. And I was like, see, even
See,
Google
girly.
is a misandrist.
Yeah, she is. She truly is Miss Girl.
But feminism is obviously like the concept that we should all be equal, which I feel like deep down I am. When you've been a feminist for so long and you still don't see any change, modern feminism has now transitioned into this kind of like misandrist view, or like misandry, I think is like, if you're to change the verb of it, context. Anywho, so which really is like this disdain for men and kind of benefiting off the power play that's been in existence for so long. So a lot of women, like the femme fatale, they'll hear a lot about, or the dark feminine energy. All of that really is like the concept of like being a misandrist. It's understanding that like a lot of oppression of women comes from the fact that men are scared of us. We hold a lot of power in society, and they don't want us to know that. Hell, how the hell would you exist without us? We're the only ones who can birth children, and recent studies have come out that says we can get pregnant off our own bone marrow. Yes. Yes. So I think where modern feminism kind of gets men's panties in a twist is the fact that a lot of it's saying like, we don't need you, and if anything, we can capitalize off you and capitalize off this power play that you put in fashion that doesn't really benefit you. But yes, so like I think while sex work is feminism, I think a lot of it really does, especially from what I've seen in my financial domination, because I'm friends with a lot of different doms, and like we have group chats, and a lot of us are neurodivergent. A lot of us cannot work. A lot of us are in abusive homes. And a lot of us are fed up over just being objectified in our day-to-day life. And it's like, fuck it. Might as well get paid for it. Pay for my rent. Pay for my chicken. Go to the gym and live that like stay-at-home lifestyle without having children or having a damn husband to carry along and raise along with my fucking kids.
And I think also, a lot of men are frustrated, right? About, I guess, this like kind of misandrist ideology. I don't know if that's the right word. I'm a fucking dumb bitch. I need to Google it before I say it, but whatever. Fuck it, we ball. I think that people are pissed, and a lot of men are pissed about the concept of feminism, because they don't understand it. But I think you're right. I think modern feminism is transitioning towards, I guess, more misandrist ideology. But the reason why, right, is because we all, as women, have these very negative experiences with men. And that's not to discount the fact that men have negative experiences with women. I'm not
No.
saying that they don't. Even when it comes to something like sexual assault, right? But I think that when it comes to something like sexual assault, women tend to have more violent experiences because there is a physical difference in most men versus women. And I think another reason why a lot of women also transition to doing something like hypertrophy training or strength training as opposed to just being like a cardio bunny is because we want to be strong. And although, yes, hypertrophy training is not going to, it's not, fighting training, it's not jujitsu, it's not something where you're able to like fight people off. I think that it leaves women feeling very empowered, who have been in very compromising positions before where they've been raped or they've been sexually assaulted. I know for me, like, there was this, kind of trend going around that I participated in, and it was like, putting your workout video on top of a sound that said building a body that he can't touch. And I think that's real too. Like, in past relationships too, I've been made to feel like I wasn't good enough because of my body, and now it's like, well, you can't say that. You can't say, I don't know. I need to stop because I'm going off on a fucking tangent here, and I need to reel it in. I think you're right, and I think that it is a universal experience for women, specifically to have really poor experiences with men, and it begins at a very young age, right? I remember very clearly one day I was driving to school, and my dad did a triple take of this girl who I went to high school with, or no, it was junior high with, who was a year older than me, and she was like, 12 or something. And that's the thing, right? It's so funny because as you grow up, you don't get people stopping and honking, but they do when you're young. They do when you're young, when you're like, it's like 13 to 17. And I think that a lot of women too do capitalize within sex work on what you said before. I don't know what the concept was. It was like pedophile baiting. But
Yeah.
if they're gonna do it to you anyway, I think, I don't know, I've seen kind of like content like that, and it really disgusts me. And I don't mean it because the women who are creating the content do, but it reminds me that we do live in a world where people want to fuck kids. And that just disgusts me, and it's something that I'd prefer to put in the back of my mind. I know that I'm going off on a tangent here, and I'm done now, but it's hard. The whole
Yeah.
concept of sex work is hard, and I think, yeah, I think it is. I think for a lot of women, it is reclaiming their power sexually from sexual traumas. I think that it's helping people who are neurodivergent, who are disabled, who are mentally ill, be able to do things that they can't normally do in jobs that they can't normally keep, which is helping them pay their rent. And it's not easy work. I don't think that sex work is easy work. I think it's very hard work, but it is something that you have the ability to control. And it's like how you said earlier, it is something that in the kind of like OnlyFans realm, or, the subscription based content realm, like Passes, it enables us to choose what we put out. And that I think also is great because it is very consensual. It's things that we're okay with people seeing. And I love that we're in a space now that we have the ability to do that.
I think really what it boils down to is I think as a society, we need to move into the transition of like, who gives a fuck? I'm sorry. But like a lot of y'all, especially, and I don't want to point the finger here, but I just find that a lot of the people, like, for example, that video that I sent you this morning, in the comments, so basically, for some context, it's this video and she's like, when I find a new fitness influencer, and then I go to follow her, but there's like a OnlyFans link in the bio. And all these men were hyping her up. And she was responding with like, they're like, I'm so glad you're not that kind of girl. And she was responding with like, oh, never. And then like a Jesus or like religious emoji, like the
No.
purple cross and the emoji board. And so, not to point the finger, but I often find that a lot of people who have these like guttural, like, you're fucking awful, you're a piece of shit, you're gonna go die. Like, those are the people who are like the most like institutionalized, like belief systems, like align with like whatever the fuck some old bitch is telling them. And they are so quick to sit there and like berate. But then, like, I went to her page, right? And like, in there, she's like, I'm sorry, but she's being a fucking cunt. Like, she's literally like there was one post and she was like something basically like about like, watch how you talk to me, this, that, and the third. And like, she's talking about how her biceps are like the bet. And I was like, see, this is where I get hung up, because the same people who want to hate on sex work and hate on people and think that they're less than because of certain things like that, then turn around and claim how they're so much superior because of really like the dumbest reasons. Like, if you think that you're better than someone because you don't do sex work, I have a really hard fat pill for you to swallow without water.
Without holy
Because,
water. No,
like,
but
what the fuck?
yeah, it's funny because people did the same thing to me. This before I went on passes, which is a week ago. I always talked about how sex work is real work. And people would comment on my shit and be like, "Do you have an OnlyFans?" And I'd be like, "No, it's just not the type of content that I want to create." And they'd be like, "Yeah, see, this is why I like you. This is why I follow you, blah blah blah." And I said, no, like, why are you going to demonize sex work? I post the same shit that some sex workers do. I'm just not getting paid for it. And, I think that also it enables people to follow you and consume the same type of content without feeling shame about it. And it makes them feel better about themselves. And I think that that's where they need to look internally because I'm sorry, like, before I was on passes, like the shit that I'm posting is like me, me in a bathing suit. But sometimes I post stuff in bathing suits because I know the algorithm, I know what it likes, and I know what works. And if I'm talking about disability advocacy or something where I really want people to listen, fuck yeah, I'll throw on a bathing suit because I know it's going to get more views. And I know it's going to help get my message to the people out that I know want or need to hear it. But yeah, it's weird. And I think there's also a very strange pipeline of doing gym influencer shit and then moving from that into like, I love God. And the people that I see with like, Christ is king with the purple cross in their bio, like I avoid them like the plague because I'm sorry. Who said it? It was she's like a young LA girl. I think she's also autistic. Killjoy. She was on a live one day, her and like Ariel, I don't know what the fuck her name is, Ariel something, and they were talking about how men with the who are like hardcore die fucking Catholics with the fucking purple cross in their bio get so much pussy, and honestly, real.
Well, I was gonna say too, like a lot of those people want to like demonize sex work, right? And say like you're degrading yourself. Babes, I know you've got 87 unopened dick pics in your fucking inbox. I'm just getting $15 for each one of those dick pics to actually respond to the motherfuckers. Like, you know what I'm saying? How is that degrading? Like, I'm literally saying that my pussy is worth the number one like value thing in our system, money. Like, I don't understand how that's saying that I'm degrading myself. And I think too, like, even with like you said, like the gym pipeline to like religion, like I don't know so much if it's a pipeline or as if those people just start like that. Because
Yeah.
I don't know, like most of the gym people that I interact with or like have a good time with or tend to vibe with don't have that like transition ever. But I do see like people who are like that and have conversations with them, obviously, because I'm in a commercial gym and have to. And they've always been like that.
Yeah, I just think, for me, I think I'm so black and white, 0 to 100, that I really can't conceptualize how someone would not be okay with sex work and be Catholic, but also be posting like thirst traps and like them like oiled up, flexing and like taking off their shirt. Like, I don't know. I think that also as I get older, like I realize that like you can be multifaceted and you can believe certain things and pull what you want from religion, but that's where I think religion is dangerous and we're not I need to fucking pull back from this.
Yeah,
People pick and choose what they want, and I think at the end of the day with something like this, right, when it comes to anything, it's just all about kind of learning. And I think that a lot of the time, a lot of people who are doing sex work, it's because they need to, like I think that a lot of people who also demonize and judge it are coming from a place of extreme privilege where they don't need to do that type of thing in order to do something simple, which is just survive and get
I
basic
agree.
necessities like have food and shelter. And yeah, it's coming from a place of privilege. And I think that we would all do better to just take some time to like educate ourselves on the struggles of others before jumping to these conclusions. But unfortunately, our society is a very judgmental place. Not a lot of people do have that belief that sex work is work, but it is. And it's something that unfortunately you're going to get judged for. That's the thing that for me, at least when starting on passes, although it's not necessarily categorized as sex work because it doesn't allow nudity, I think it is a form of it. And it's something that I realized that I would have to put up with those judgments because guess what? I needed to pay my rent. And that's what I had to do. You have to do shit that you don't want to do to get to where you want to be. And that's capitalism, baby. You got to sell your fucking body in one way or another in order to get shit done. And I think, yeah, that is fucking modern feminism is popping your pussy on the fucking internet to be able to get chicken because I don't know. I think I really went off topic as fuck on this episode, and like hopefully next time we're going to be a little bit more. I need to reel myself in, but I'm so ADHD that like
I feel like we weren't off topic. I feel like we did so well. Like, sure, did we go down some avenues and like some side streets if you took the scenic route, but we brought it back every single time.
Yeah. I think that's good. I think that this is the end of the episode for today. I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do next week. All I know is like
we should get like ideas. If we could get ideas from some people maybe this week.
Yeah, you know what? That's what we'll do. We'll ask the people on Instagram what they'd like to hear. If you guys have any recommendations of things that you'd like for us to talk about, you can DM us. But yeah, I think that was the sixth or seventh.
I think it was 6. You want me to check the notes real quick? I think it was 6.
I think it was 6.
10 and 10, 6. Yep.
Yep. Okay. So that was the 6th episode of the Anti-Filter podcast. So I'm your host, Alison.
And I'm your host, Shannon.
And we hope to see you next week. If you are here and you are watching on YouTube, if you could smash the subscribe button, smash the like, comment, let us know what you like, let us know what you hated. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you could take 20 seconds, tap the 3 dots at the top, scroll down, and give us a 5-star rating. It helps the podcast get out to more people so that more people can fucking hear it. I don't know, But yeah, I think that's it.
That's it. That's a wrap.
All right, we'll see you guys next week, and we hope you have a fabulous day. Bye, guys.
Bye.